Hey, what's up, you all? Thank you for tuning into the Larger Than Logic podcast. My name is Avery Taylor, and I'm so glad that you decided to spend some time with me today. Before we hop into the episode, I need to let you all know my guided checklist is out now. Now, what is this guided checklist? What is it for? It is to allow you to turn your knowledge and expertise, it does not matter what the subject matter is, it allows you to turn your knowledge and expertise into a digital product, whether that be a ebook, whether that be an online course, whether that be a online community. It shows you how to take your knowledge and put it into a framework that is actually useful to somebody else, right? And then different ways to distribute that and allow you to put minimal money in, right? Minimal even time in, considering what you would spend over the long run. Productize your knowledge and sell that. And so you can go ahead to my link on any of my social medias. It is at my online store, and you can go ahead and purchase that if it so be your desire. But now the important thing, the very important thing for us to talk about today. It is time that you learned to not be a reactive person, but you became a person that sets the tone. It's very important that you learn to become a person that when you walk into a room, individuals are looking to you for how things are going to go. It is very, very important that you begin to position yourself as an individual that is not swayed by the thoughts, opinions, and words of others, but rather than are guided divinely by purpose and divine perspective. It is so common to see people, especially as men, which I hate to say, where our whole world can crash down within a matter of moments, matter of seconds, just because of what somebody said, just because of the way somebody looked at us. Man, if you've seen some of the road rage videos I've even seen online and different things, Instagram, TikTok, what have you, of people making a split second decision to throw their life away, all because of what somebody said or did. It didn't matter if they were on their way to work. It didn't matter if they had their kids in the car with them. They were ready to throw it all away. As we say, some of my friends, they were ready to risk it all at the drop of a hat just because of what somebody else did. And I'm not going to lie, this is stupid. I'm not going to try to make it sound eloquent. I'm not going to try to make it sound intelligent. It's stupid. It's a bad decision. It doesn't make any sense. Why doesn't this make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to be reactionary because the person who decides to be stupid and provoke you, whether it was intentional or unintentional, the person who decides to go out of their way to make your day bad or to get their get back or whatever it be, this person does not have your goals in mind. They do not have your family in mind. They do not have you in mind. They have themselves and their emotions in mind. And I promise you, when they make that decision to step past that line and cross your boundary, in the same second that you can flip that switch and decide to engage them, you can decide to stay at bay, let them go on about their business, and continue in your purpose. But this may not be clear enough for you. So, as always, I'm going to try to present this to you in the form of a story. And I want you to put yourself inside the story, if possible. There was this gentleman named Robert, man. And Robert was about 6'2", 6'2", brown skin like me. He had cornrows, though. And my man was spiffy guy. Man, when I tell you, dude would dress to the nines, man. Tailored suits, trench coats, custom ties, man, like beard never out of shape. Like dude was he was stunting, bro. And the thing about him was, though he was, this very, very polished guy, he had an issue with letting other people shift his attention from what he had going on. I remember this one day in specific, he said, "Hey, I got some errands to run. You want to come kick it with me?" I said, "Okay, cool, man. Let's ride today." And it was a cool day, man. Bro came and scooped me up and saying we was in the car bumping the music, saying, talking about life, talking about family, talking about our goals and aspirations. And it was a beautiful thing. But I noticed something, right? He said, "Yeah, man, the first stop that we got to get to is the grocery store. And saying, I was like, okay, cool, man. We go to the grocery store. But it's crazy because while we're on the way to the grocery store, his wife calls him and she says, hey, we need to take some money out to pay the handyman. He fixed X, Y, and Z. I forget what it was, but he fixed X, Y, and Z. Could you stop by the bank and get some money out? He says, yeah, I'll go get some money out before I get home. And so he says, okay, man, before we go to the grocery store, we got to stop by the bank and get some money out. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. And then the pastor calls him, and his pastor calls him and says, hey, we're having some issues down at the church with a water leak. I need you to, before Sunday comes, I need you to go and get a bucket and a mop and try to maybe get some patching things. I don't know how we're going to get this out the way, but I know you're the guy for the job. I know that you can fix this. And so he says, okay, no issue at all. And so he leans over to me and says, hey, look, man, before we go to the grocery store, we got to stop by Home Depot and try to get some things to patch up this leak. I'm like, all right, man, it's your day, man. I'm just rolling with you. And so not only did he stop by the bank, but then he go by Home Depot and he gets the patch stuff and all of the cleaning materials. I'm like, okay, cool. So now I'm thinking we on the way to the grocery store. Now we on to the way to the grocery store, and it just so happens that there's somebody tailgating him on the highway. And so what he do? He started driving about 30 miles per hour in the 60s to prove a point. And this person behind them is going crazy, leaning on their horn, yelling out the window. I think Cuz might have even thrown a battery at the back window. Like dude's turning up and he's like, I'm not budging. So he's doubling down and he is just not trying to go no type of faster. And so the other car speeds around him, goes on about their business. He's like, yeah, I showed them. I'm like, yeah, you sure did. I'm saying, I'm just feeding all into it. I'm hyping it up. It is what it is, right? But we keep pushing. And then we on the way. And then he says, hey, bro, you hungry? I'm like, I ain't gonna cap. I could eat. He said, okay, let's stop and get some food. So we stopped and we got some fajitas at this little taco truck or whatever. And you know what I'm saying, we chopped it up, ate. You know what I'm saying, we had a nice little time, nice little conversation. But then we hop back in the car. And now I'm like, okay, for sure, we're going to go to the grocery store. It just so happens that we actually do end up going to the grocery store. And it was so cool, you know what I'm saying, to finally get to the grocery, because I'd never been to this one before. He likes to go to those organic type of markets or whatever. But it's kind of crazy though, because by the time we made it to the grocery store was closed and we were blown. Yo, he was like, man, I've been waiting all week to be able to get to this grocery store. The things that they haven't, I can't get the things that they have in there anywhere else. I needed to get into the grocery store, man, and they only open 2 days a week. Da 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 da. Da. This dude is literally livid. He is so upset because he could not get what he needed out of the store. And it's kind of crazy because I looked back and thought about the day that we had. And when he could have beeline to the store and got done what he needed first, he was letting literally everything that came his way change his plan. He was letting literally everything that came his way shift the order of how he done or how he did things rather. He could have went to the grocery store first, then went to the bank, then went to Home Depot. We could have gotten food later after we completed everything. We could have done all these things, but it wasn't that type of deal. He made every single last thing that came across his plate change his plan. He allowed himself to be he allowed himself to be reactionary, okay? He allowed himself to be swayed. He allowed himself to be too yielding to the point where he was not able to accomplish what he had set out to accomplish from the beginning. You might see yourself in this story. You might see yourself as a person who has a lot of ambition. You might see yourself as a man that has purpose over his life, but also a man who easily is taken off track by having a big heart, by having a big ego, by having allegiance to a fault, having what's the word, loyalty to a fault. Though your character and your heart is not the issue, you not being a steward of it is. And I'm here to tell you from experience that you will lose time, you will lose resources, and your family and you will have to suffer till you realize that everything cannot be equal and everything is not as important as it feels in that moment. You have to stop thinking about things from the standpoint of how does this feel? And you have to start thinking about these things from the standpoint of What is this going to lead to? What is the cause and effect? What is the consequence? Is this a building block or is this a pillow? Is this sand or is this rock? Is this taking me upward? Is it taking me forward? Or is this keeping me in the same circle or loop? If these things are not help, look, man, I can't remember who it was, but there was a wise person that once told me that people and things can only do four things. They can either add to your life, they can subtract from your life, they can multiply what you already have, or they can divide what you already have. Hey, look, man, if you are going into these things that are not multiplying what you already have or adding to your life, you might want to take a second thought at how much time and energy you are allotting to said thing. You don't want to be like, bro, you don't want to be like Robert, who honestly wasted a whole day behind things that had nothing to do with the day was planned around. And so look, man, as you're going forward right into your week, as you're going forward into your day, right? I need you to take a second before you make a decision. And honestly, I would even try to connect this to an emotional switch. When you find yourself with anxiety in your heart, okay? When you find yourself with being stressed, when you find yourself in conversation and somebody asks you to do something, I need you to first think to yourself, does this take away from what I already had going on? Now, this is the thing. This isn't to say don't be of service. This isn't to say be selfish. There's a lot of men who they don't need to hear this message at all because all they think about themselves, all they think about all day is themselves. This isn't for y'all. This is for the individuals who are giving, the individuals who are caring, and the individuals who need an extra push to be intentional about how you are spending your time and resources. When you're on an airplane and they're talking about the oxygen mask that goes over your face, there's a reason why they say you need to put the oxygen mask over your face first before you help the person to your left or your right, the kiddies or what have you. It's because a lot of times, if you aren't able to get yourself done or get yourself together first, you will not be able to get anybody else together either. Not to mention, a lot of times when we think we're helping people, we're actually enabling people. A lot of times when we think we are helping somebody else do things faster or quicker, take a load off of their plate, we're actually impeding them from learning to do the thing for themselves. When we're always solving problems for people, we're impeding them from learning to solve problems for themselves. When we're always standing in the gap and going out of our way, we're training people to be able to think that they can make it through life without giving the extra effort that is actually needed to get to X, Y, and Z level. And so today is your invitation to make a shift. Today is your invitation to stop letting everybody else and everything else dictate how your life is going to go, dictate how your days are going to go, and dictate the results that you're capable of getting. And now become a man that is intentional about every decision you make. Once again, you are listening to the Larger Than Logic podcast, and I am so glad that you've allowed me to be a part of your journey.